He had just finished second in the streets of Monaco. The cameras were still rolling, the champagne barely dry, and then Lewis Hamilton said something he was never supposed to say. In a single sentence, he revealed a piece of information so sensitive that Formula One's own governing body hadn't even published it yet. And the moment those words left his mouth, the entire paddock went quiet. Because what he leaked didn't just embarrass one team. It exposed a truth the sport had been trying very carefully to manage behind closed doors. But here's the strange part. This wasn't a secret about Hamilton. It wasn't about his car, his lap, or his future. The data he let slip pointed somewhere else entirely, at the engine everybody had underestimated. And at the giants who'd just been quietly beaten. And the deeper you go into what he said, the clearer it becomes that this wasn't a small slip. This was a crack in the foundation of Formula One's brand new era. Let me explain what actually happened. Because the timing is everything. We're in 2026, the first season under a completely rewritten set of power unit rules. Every manufacturer started almost from scratch. New engines, new energy systems, new everything. And to stop the field from splitting into haves and have-nots, the sport introduced a mechanism most casual fans have never heard of. It's called a duo. And to understand why Hamilton's leak landed like a bombshell, you first have to understand what a duo is actually designed to do. Think of a duo as a quiet equalizer. If your engine is judged to be behind the best one on the grid, you're granted extra opportunities to develop and upgrade it away to catch up without blowing the season apart. But there's a catch, and it's a brutal one. Whoever is judged to have the best engine gets nothing. No upgrades, no help. You earned your lead, so you live with it while everyone else is handed tools to close the gap. It's a system built entirely around one question: who's really the best? And here's where it gets interesting. That judgment isn't based on the whole power unit. It's measured only on the raw power of the internal combustion engine, the burning, mechanical heart of the car. Stripped of the electrical assistance. Even more telling, the exact numbers used to rank the engines are kept secret. The teams don't get them. The public doesn't get them. And that secrecy exists for one specific reason, a reason that tells you just how ruthless this sport really is. Because if teams knew the precise benchmark, some of them would cheat the test. Not by going faster, by appearing slower. They'd sandbag, hide their true performance, and trick the system into granting them upgrade tokens they didn't deserve. So the FIA locked the numbers away in a vault. No benchmark leaks, no gaming. That was the plan. That was supposed to be airtight. And then Lewis Hamilton walked up to a microphone in Monaco and casually unlocked the door. Now watch what happens next. Because the content of the leak is where this story turns. Hamilton didn't just hint at something vague, he laid out the verdict. He revealed that the engine judged to be the best in all of Formula One wasn't Ferrari's, it wasn't Mercedes. It belonged to Red Bull Powertrains, a manufacturer building its own full-works engine for the very first time. The newest name in the room had just beaten everyone who'd been doing this for decades. Sit with that for a second. Red Bull had never built a complete power unit of their own. This is their first real attempt. And according to the data Hamilton exposed, they didn't just survive, they topped the chart. They produced the single best internal combustion engine on the grid. Which under a duo means they receive zero upgrade assistance, because they simply don't need any. And here's the detail that makes it sting. Hamilton mentioned that someone had moved from Mercedes to Red Bull. One transfer of knowledge, one shift of talent, and suddenly the new kid is outperforming the dynasty. But the real damage wasn't to Red Bull's rivals in general. It was to one team in particular, the team Hamilton himself walked away from. Because the same leak revealed that Mercedes, the engine giant, the 8-time Constructors' Champions, had been judged as merely close to the best. Good enough to earn one upgrade. Not the benchmark, not the king. And then it got worse for everyone else. Audi, Ferrari, and Honda, 3 more proud names, were each judged so far behind that they qualify for 2 upgrades apiece. Do you understand what that means? Hamilton, sitting in a Ferrari, had just publicly confirmed that his own team's engine was judged among the weakest in the field. 2 upgrade tokens isn't a compliment. It's the system telling you that you have ground to make up. And he said it out loud, into a microphone, before the FIA had said a single word. This is the part nobody fully appreciated in the moment. So let's break down exactly how far behind you have to be because the threshold matters more than you'd think. The rule is simple, but savage. If your engine is within 2% of the benchmark, you get one upgrade across this season and the next. But if you fall beyond that 2% line, you don't just get more upgrades, you get an increase to your budget cap to pay for them. In other words, the further behind you are, the more money and freedom you're handed to catch up. And that's where a quiet controversy starts to brew, because it raises an uncomfortable question. Here's something worth asking yourself right now. Is a system that rewards the teams who fall furthest behind actually fair to the team that built the best engine? Red Bull did the work. Red Bull topped the chart. And Red Bull's prize is to sit still while 4 rivals are handed upgrades, extra development, and in some cases more money to chase them down. Tell me in the comments, is that genuine balance, or is it punishing excellence? Because this is the exact tension that the 2026 rules were always going to create, and Hamilton's leak just dragged it into daylight. And this is where it gets worse because of when he said it. The FIA had not published the findings. There was no official statement, no press release, no confirmation. The governing body was still sitting on the data. And the reason they were sitting on it is the part that should make you lean in. Because according to people with direct knowledge, the FIA wasn't just slow. They were taking a second look at their own findings, reviewing the numbers to make sure the results were exactly right before going public. Think about why that matters. A result this explosive, the newest manufacturer beating the established powers, 3 legendary names sent to the back of the engine queue, is not something you announce casually. You check it. You double-check it. You make absolutely certain. Because the moment it's official, it reshapes the politics of the entire grid. And while the FIA was carefully verifying every decimal point, a driver simply told the world the answer before they could. The governing body lost control of its own announcement. That almost never happens in modern Formula One. Now stay with me, because here's the layer most people missed. While everyone fixated on the engine bombshell, Hamilton said something else in the same breath that quietly reveals where Ferrari really stands. When he was asked why his Ferrari couldn't keep up with Mercedes in Monaco, a track where raw engine power barely matters, his answer wasn't about the engine at all. He said the car was simply missing downforce. And the way he described it is the kind of detail that tells you more than any datasheet. He talked about watching the Mercedes ahead of him through the corners. He could see the other driver getting onto the power earlier, squeezing the throttle sooner, with more grip pinning the rear of the car to the road. Picture 2 cars exiting the same corner. One is already surging forward with the rear planted and confident, while the other has to wait, hesitate, and feed the power in late because the back of the car is sliding and nervous. That gap, that tiny hesitation, corner after corner, is what Hamilton was feeling. And it had nothing to do with horsepower. So now, look at the full picture forming. Ferrari's engine was judged among the weakest, earning 2 upgrade tokens. And Ferrari's car, according to its own driver, is also missing downforce in the corners. That's not one problem. That's 2 problems stacked on top of each other, a power deficit and an aerodynamic deficit at the same time. And the man delivering this brutal diagnosis is the same man Ferrari signed to lead them back to glory. This is the quiet heartbreak buried inside a story everyone thought was about Red Bull. This changes everything about how we read Ferrari's season. Because for months the narrative was about patience, about upgrades arriving, about the project coming together. But here's a driver, in the cockpit, telling you plainly that the engine is behind and the aero is behind. Those upgrade tokens suddenly look less like a luxury and more like a lifeline. And the pressure that lands on Ferrari's factory now is enormous because every rival who got tokens is about to start pushing, and the clock is already running. Meanwhile, think about what this means for Red Bull. The newest engine builder on the grid is now the team with the most to lose and the least help to get there. They're frozen at the top, denied upgrades, while Mercedes sharpens one improvement and Ferrari, Audi, and Honda each prepare 2. The hunters have been armed. The leader has been told to hold still. And across a season and then another season in 2027, because these tokens stretch into next year too, that's the kind of dynamic that can slowly erode even the strongest advantage. And that's the future implication almost nobody is talking about. This isn't a one-race story. The upgrades Hamilton leaked don't just affect 2026, they shape 2027 as well. The decisions being made right now, the tokens being handed out, the budget allowances being granted, will ripple across 2 entire championships. The grid you see at the start of this season may look completely different by the end of the next, precisely because of the equalization that's now in motion. A single leaked verdict has set the trajectory for years. So step back and ask the bigger question, the one this whole saga is really about. Formula One built Aduo to keep the racing close, to stop one engine from running away with the era. But the very first time the system produced a verdict, it created a storm, an unexpected winner, wounded giants, a governing body double-checking its own homework, and a driver who blew the lid off before anyone was ready. If the goal was harmony, the first result delivered chaos. And that tells you something about how delicate this new era truly is. Here's what I keep coming back to. Hamilton didn't reveal a number. He revealed a fault line. He showed us that beneath the polished surface of 2026, the balance of power has already shifted in a direction the establishment didn't predict and clearly didn't want to advertise. Red Bull rose. Mercedes slipped to second best. Ferrari, his own team, sits among the strugglers on both power and downforce. And the FIA was left scrambling to confirm a story their own driver had already told. So let me leave you with the question that actually matters. Was this a genuine slip-a champion speaking too freely in the adrenaline after a podium? Or did Lewis Hamilton know exactly what he was doing, putting the truth on the record before anyone could soften it or spin it? Drop your verdict in the comments, because I genuinely want to know what you think. If this is the kind of deep F1 breakdown you want more of, subscribe and stay with us, because the moment the FIA makes it official, everything you just heard is going to matter even more. The data is out, the balance has shifted, and the 2026 season just stopped being predictable.